Welcome to the next edition of Run with Coach Parry. I'm Brad Brown, the coach, Lindsey Parry, with us once again. Lindsey, how's it?
How's it, Brad?
Fantastic. How are your legs feeling, by the way? It's a week and a bit post Cape Town Marathon. You had an absolute stormer. We posted, I posted your splits on our Facebook group, and it went a bit mad because you ran pretty close to the perfect marathon. You dipped under 3 hours, and your pacing was superb.
Yeah, and I think I did a 3-minute negative split. So, it was a really good day out. And it's funny, I kind of changed my plan as I was standing on the start line, and I just decided that I'm not going to chase a specific time. I'm literally going to just listen to my body and run at the pace that I feel is most comfortable. And, it was honestly one of my favorite marathons that I've run in a long, long time. And besides the fact that I was feeling good, I really feel that Cape Town Marathon is up their game to a very high level, and the whole day was so well organized. The people of Cape Town were awesome. Weather was brilliant. So it's definitely a marathon worth getting down to Cape Town for.
Yeah, I swore after last year's one I'd never run it again with the little trip down the corridor to Mordor to Pardon Island, but I'm glad they've changed the route and have got rid of that bit. It definitely looks like an absolute belter now. I mean, that first little stretch out on the prom along the Atlantic seaboard is amazing. So I think I'm definitely going to put it on my list of runs to do next year. But Lindsey, let's talk about post Cape Town, and not specifically for you, because this is a question that's popped up, funnily enough, in the forums on coachparry.com quite a bit over the last week and a bit, but also prior to that, because we also had quite a few members running the Berlin Marathon. And people asking, what now? We've trained hard for a marathon. We've smacked the goal we wanted to smack. What should we be doing? Should we sort of hang out on the dark side? Do we need to still be running? Should we be picking another marathon? What advice would you give to someone who's just run a marathon and wants to maybe kick on and run another one, or should they be setting other goals? What's the deal with running again after a marathon?
Such an important question, Brad, because I think that's one of the mistakes that people commonly make, particularly early in their running career. You know, after running, especially if you ran a really good Cape Town, you kind of got the bull between the horns, and you just want to go for it. And you maybe start looking around for another marathon. But the reality is that if you race too many marathons or too many ultras, so this becomes pertinent question for longer races too, then over the long term, it definitely starts to compromise your speed. It compromises your muscles' ability to recover. You start to struggle with your training a lot more. And so what you do after marathons and ultra marathons in particular is really important in terms of being able to sustain this and to keep improving over the long term. And so the first thing and most important thing is to recover absolutely properly from a marathon. And I'm quite happy to use myself as an example in this instance, because typically after I've run a hard marathon, I can walk fairly normally by Wednesday, and certainly by the weekend I'll be training again, although very easy, more from a precautionary point of view. But this week, I still wasn't able to walk properly on Wednesday. And, a week and a half later, I can feel like there's a deep fatigue in my legs that's gone. So I'm actually only thinking about starting to run again a week and a half later. So the important thing is to recover fully from that marathon. And the normal is 3 days of pain and stiffness, and then another 3 days of rest or cross training. So you can get in a pool and swim, you can get on a bike and train, but don't put pressure on yourself to get back training too quickly. I would say that the normal run of events is that I should be able to run by now, and most of you should be able to run by now. So in the second week, I then typically start out with a 20 to 30 minute training run, and I choose 20 minutes because it's long enough that it'll really give me a sense of, are my legs actually fine? But it's short enough that if my legs really aren't fine, or very importantly, if there's pain or an injury that I've maybe picked up in the race, that I can just stop and I'm always going to be close to home no matter where I am on that loop, because 20 minutes means I'm always going to be close. Okay. Then the next step for me is not to choose a race that is too long. So definitely not another marathon in the second half of the year. I would change the focus of my program slightly to favor a little bit more speed, slightly lower volumes on the long runs. Now, that doesn't mean changing how we train. In other words, I'm not suggesting now that our shorter runs and our shorter long runs are now run at a higher speed. No, we still want to make sure that we are training in the appropriate zones. And if we've had a successful marathon, some people will then be in a slightly faster bracket, but it's still important to train in the right place so that we train the right physiology. But we're going to tweak the type of speed work we do. We're going to focus it and dial more in shorter races. So in the second half of the year, it's much more appropriate to race a couple of 5 to 10 Ks, maybe with a 21 being your major focus at the end of the year. And if you do that, it really sets you up brilliantly for maybe an April or early, depending on where you live in the world, of course, but somewhere between late January and April, it sets you up for another crack at a really good marathon or perhaps even an ultra.
Brilliant. If you've got any follow-up questions, please pop them into the forums on the CoachParry.com website. We've got a very cool sort of community growing there and asking questions, and that's where the coach hangs out every day with the rest of our coaches answering questions. So if you've got any questions, that's where you need to pop them. And then just a second note, you may have seen a couple of videos on our social media feed over the last week and a bit, and also a podcast we did on Run about a week and a half ago with a guy by the name of James Hobson, Hobbo, who's training for his very first Ironman 70.3, and he's literally going from couch to half Ironman, and Lindsey's going to be coaching him and helping him, and we are super excited to be part of his journey, and it's all part of the Biogen journey. That's the hashtag we want you to use. Tell us about yours. What are you training for? And check out those videos, listen to the podcast. It is a super inspiring story, and whether you're totally unfit or if you are setting a big, massive goal, we want to hear about it, okay? Pop it onto the socials, hashtag Biogen Journey, and the cool thing is we'll be giving away access to that Coach Parry online community for someone, and we'll be doing it over the next few months fairly regularly. So if you want to win yourself access to the Coach Parry online community, all you need to do is use the hashtag Biogen Journey to tell us what you're training for, and let's help you get there. Until next time, from myself, Brad Brown, and the coach, it's cheers.